Hey guys, welcome back. Last week we talked about 2 ways to save the cat. That is 2 ways to create an intimate bond between your reader and your character the very first time they show up in scene. Today we're going to be talking about 3 more ways to create that all-important bond, and we're starting right now. I'm Jane, and this is Fiction Technician. When you want your reader to fall in love with your character, there are 2 basic tactics you can go for. You can try to make them admire the character, admire his moral faculties, his judgment, his skills. Or you can try to make them identify with the character, feel compassion for him, and a deep kinship. Our first way to save the cat today deals with admiration, and it's cleverness. We can't help but admire clever characters, even if they haven't so far shown us much more about themselves that's worthy of admiration. Tony Stark in Iron Man is not a particularly likable guy when the movie starts out, but we fall in love with him anyway because of this scene.
I have a question to ask.
Yes, please.
Is it true you went 12 for 12 with last year's Maximum cover models?
That is an excellent question. Yes and no. March and I had a scheduling conflict, but fortunately the Christmas cover was twins. Anything else? You're kidding me with the hand up, right?
Is it cool if I take a picture with you?
Yes. It's very cool. I don't want to see this on your MySpace page. Please, no gang signs. No, throw it up. I'm kidding.
But there's more to cleverness than just being a smart mouth. You can also be tactical, like Tony in the Green Book, who steals a mobster's hat just so he can be the one to recover that hat and gain the mobster's gratitude. Now we not only like Tony, we know he's a scrappy guy who's going to be making some interesting choices. Or you can show ingenuity and resourcefulness, like Mark Watney does in the beginning of The Martian and basically all the way through the movie. Or if all of that is too much, you can just figure out how to save yourself some shoe leather on the way to school. I want to make it clear that when I say clever, I don't mean smart. 2 of the smartest characters on television ever are Lieutenant Commander Data from Star Trek The Next Generation and Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. But we don't admire these guys for their intelligence. When we connect with these characters, it's more about connecting with their humanity and their constant struggle to understand and to be understood. The reason that we don't admire them for their intelligence is that they're not clever. Cleverness is intelligence creatively applied. We might assume that Sheldon is clever at his job, but the stories of The Big Bang Theory take place in the social world, and there Sheldon is clueless. And as for Data, well, he more often serves as a knowledge bank to allow other characters to exercise their cleverness. Let's think again about Marty McFly from Back to the Future. Marty has the same tool that every other teenage boy had in 1985, which is a skateboard, but he uses it in a new, creative way. That's cleverness, and it's one of the first reasons that we fall in love with Marty. Our next way to save the cat deals with providing a way for your reader to identify with the character, and it's injustice. Let's talk about 2 characters who have a lot in common. Johnny Lawrence from Cobra Kai and Dean Prophet from Overboard. Both of these guys have some strikes against them. Johnny starts off with a rather rough personality. He's slovenly, he's lazy, and he's more than a little rude.
Listen, menudo.
And as for Dean, well, he's more likable in general, but he commits a very unlikable action early on, which is convincing an amnesiac woman that she's his wife, so she will cook and clean for him. We should not want to stick with either of these guys, but we do, and the reason is 2 nearly identical scenes at the beginning of both stories. Both men are hired to perform some carpentry work for a rich woman, and although they do the job well, the woman is unhappy, unsatisfied, and completely unfair. Both women humiliate the men, and Johnny winds up fired, Dean winds up in the drink. They have both been served up with a big injustice, and that makes us identify with them and want them to win. Another example is from Harry Potter. In the early scenes, so much injustice is heaped upon Harry by his awful aunt and terrible uncle that by the end of this sequence, we are not only willing to cheer the Dursleys' dismay at finding their son locked in a snake pit, we are also willing to follow Harry through any number of adventures. Injustice creates a powerful identification with a character because we all know the anger and hurt that comes from being treated unfairly. When a character is hit with a big injustice early on, we feel that anger and hurt on their behalf, and we want to stick with them and see them triumph. Is all this making sense? If so, do me a favor and smash that like button, and then let's talk about our last way to save the cat. Defiance of authority. Call me a rebel or call me American, but I love a character who bucks the system. Sterling Archer, like Johnny Lawrence, is a generally unlikable guy. He is arrogant, irresponsible, and has a number of troubling vices. But when we see him in his first scene, mouthing off to a man who appears to be a KGB agent interrogating him,
We have ways of making you talk.
What, your little go-kart battery?
Golf cart.
Whatever. And would you pick an accent and stick with it?
we can't help but also think that he is brave, interesting, and, yeah, likable. For another example, we can circle back to the Future. There's an early scene where Marty is bullied by Principal Strickland, and although he's clearly scared, he answers back bravely.
No McFly ever amounted to anything in the history of Hill Valley.
Yeah, well, history is gonna change.
If you want to use defiance of authority to build that reader-character bond, it's probably best if the authority is, in some way, unfair. Maybe the authority derives from an illegitimate source, like taking somebody prisoner. Or maybe the authority is legitimate, but the person exercising it is abusing their power, like Principal Strickland, who really should not be harassing and insulting a teenage boy. Or you could do a scene where the authority is doing their best, but they are incompetent and causing problems that your character really needs to solve. Defying authority is always brave, but defying an unjust authority is righteously brave, and that's a character whose side we can't help but want to be on. Cleverness, injustice, and defiance of authority are really just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to ways to write the Save the Cat scene, so have fun with it. But remember those two key elements. You want your reader to either be able to admire the character or identify with him. Subscribe if you haven't, because next week I'm talking about the ways that I modify the Blake Snyder beat sheet. It's going to be a really fun video with a lot of great nitty-gritty tech. Tech out.